All right, Jason Miller here today. I want to talk about how to drain fuel out of Ford van. This happens to be a 1995 Econoline. What happened is I pumped some fuel in that was suspect. I think there was water in the fuel, and now I need to get fuel out of the tank. And I ideally would like to get it out all the way at the front so I don't have that water in the fuel lines and the fuel filter, pumping it out as close to the injectors as possible. So this is kind of a water in your fuel tank or other type of contamination in your fuel tank video. Show you guys what to do, the easiest way to go about it. First, I took some of the heat, and let me just show you that product to help evaporate out the water and help us out that way. So this is just some of that Gasoline Antifreeze water remover available at your auto parts store. Dump that in first, and that'll help get the water evaporating right into your gas tank. Now you can go underneath the van and like disconnect the fuel filter and drain right there, but then you've still got all the fuel line up to the injectors that could be possibly contaminated with water. So you want to get all that out. You could drop the tank, you could try to siphon from there, but again, you're just getting further and further back. And we want to get rid of it right at the injectors if possible. And it turns out that's pretty much the easiest way to do it. So come on around here and let me show you what we're going to do. First, we need to jumper our fuel pump relay. I need you to come right up here. We're going to get in this engine compartment. Right down here is the distribution block on this particular Ford. Obviously, where your fuel pump relay is going to be in different places depending on your year and model. Mine happened to be right here. You can see that. Pop that out, and then you can look on the actual relay and it will tell you what pins go to what. So just looking at this schematic, I can see I need to go from pin 30 over to pin 87 in order to energize it. So you got your positive constant, and then you can see right here where it will toggle back and forth. When it's open, it'll be at 87A, and then once it's energized, that switch will click down to 87 and power your fuel pump. So that was in the owner's manual showing me the location of where the fuel pump relay is. And now that we're down there, I've made this little jumper wire. Let me just show you what I got here. So little 16 gauge wire with a couple of spade ends on it. Looking at the bottom of the relay, it has the numbers. As I was just showing you on the schematic, we saw what we need to do, and then on the bottom of the relay, it has the actual, every pin is labeled. So I know I need to go from 30 to 87. So that's going to be from that far side to right here, and we can actually hear the fuel pump run once I connect it. All right, so now come on around here. As I was saying, I want to get as close as possible to the actual injectors. On a normal vehicle, this is easier to generally reach what's the fuel pressure check valve. It's a Schrader valve that's located on your fuel pressure rail, or on your fuel rail, I mean. And it's in order to diagnose fuel pressure issues. If you've got a failing pump or bad filter or something along those lines, you can tap into that and while driving the vehicle, see what your fuel pressure is. So you're going to need a couple of tools. Because this is, an Econoline van, you got to pull out the doghouse in order to access the engine. And find your fuel rail. Normally you'd be getting at this from underneath the hood, but because the engine's set back so far, we got to pull out the doghouse. You need a Schrader removal tool. So this is the tool used to remove the valve stem out of Schrader valves. And what you're going to find, you're going to untwist, and I'll show you where this is located, but you're looking to pull out this little Schrader valve. So this tool comes over the top right here, and then you just unscrew the Schrader valve out of the fuel rail. Why don't you pass me the camera and I'll show you. So I can see that the fuel line comes up right here. Here's one of those proprietary Ford connects that I could disconnect from there, but requires a specialty tool, and they're kind of a pain in the neck. The fuel rail continues along, and if you look, right there is where that Schrader valve is. Now I've connected a 1/4-inch fuel hose to it. So once I pulled out that valve, that Schrader valve, I just connected a hose line to it, a 1/4-inch hose line. As you can see right there, 1/4-inch fuel line. And I've run that down and out the bottom where I'm going to fill that little jar and see what I've got in the bottom. So anyway, quick, easy way to To drain fuel, you could drain your entire tank this way in just a matter of minutes, or a few gallons, depending on what you need. So we're gonna drain and see if it fixes our no start issue. So I started running that fuel pump. Like I said, I suspected water in the fuel, and when I got about halfway full in this jar, then we started getting fuel out. So all of that down there is water that came out on the front end, and obviously that would have taken and I still would have had that all through the fuel rail if I'd done it any other way. So now we're clear pretty much up to the injectors. Run a little bit of ether in starting fluid and to get her to fire, and we ought to be good to go. Put her back together. All right, so here you can see I already drained a whole bunch of water out of the tank. I'm gonna check now and see if we're straight fuel at this point. I just want to show you how quick this is, and how it works on draining it again straight from the fuel rail. So let me hook up the jumper in 3, 2, 1. And then maybe let me know when you're about 3/4 of a gallon full there. How's it looking this time?
Still has water, I think. Okay.